Good evening, everyone. So in this video, you and I are going to talk about Hippo innovation. So let's get into it. Now, what is Hippo innovation? Well, let's talk about Hippo first and foremost. And you may suspect that this does not actually relate in any way to a hippopotamus. I actually got that word right on the first go. How great am I? Anywho, Hippo stands for highest paid person opinion, and it's the sort of concept that you will face in, and you probably have, in one way or another, faced a hippo at some point in your career. Now, highest paid person opinion, or hippos, are the sort of people who, they virtually run your life. Unless you are a hippo yourself, in which case, congratulations, you've made it. Can't really say anything about that. Grats, some people are lucky. But what is hippo innovation? For this to make any type of sense, I have to give you a slight bit of context. So just bear with me. It's just a little bit of context. You can muster a little bit of context, can't you? I hope so. The other day, I was talking to one of my managers at my company, and basically we were talking about the type of performance, or call it a performance evaluation, and we were discussing my ability to take initiative within the company. And so I said, well, from my perspective, as a fairly fresh hire to the company, my main interest is to kind of get my bearings and just figure out all the parts of the system and understand our work processes and basically fit in. And so my boss said, well, yeah, that's great, fitting in is absolutely, it's a great thing, but we still want that innovation that you can bring to the table and so forth. And I said, well, no, I understand that you're interested in the innovation part of things, but I have made more than a few suggestions of things that I think that we could improve and things that could be a little bit nicer. It's not like I haven't tried doing that, but it's very rare that the company prioritizes this sort of thing, right? So, how do I deal with that? And he said, well, yeah, I suppose so, but it's a tricky thing, Frederick, because what we want is for you to provide different alternatives, different suggestions and ideas, and then we will have to just decide basically which ones that we want to go with, because we can't just implement every idea now, can we? And so I nodded and I said, well, yes, that seems very reasonable. And then that was basically it. I summarized by saying to him, so what you're looking for is for me to fit in and then give you ideas and basically have an open dialogue about what we're going to use and what we're not going to use. And he said, yeah, that's basically it. Now, I am crossing a dark section of the street, so you may not see the facial expression that I am making, but let me describe it. Now you're seeing it. You see, although this sounds very reasonable, let me tell you what this actually means. What this actually means is, from my experience, that what they want is for you to be engaged, active, feel ownership for the project, to basically go the extra mile and be truly committed to the company and its project, but they want to have final say on everything. This is not just this company. That was the exact same thing at my previous jobs. And this is where the Hippo innovation comes into play. The Hippo wants you to drive the company forward, to innovate, to be the creative type that still ships features, because trust me, you still need to meet your deadline. You always have to meet the deadline. You just have to innovate as well as meet the deadline. Usually that's way. I mean, I'm making this sound more horrible than it actually is. It's not that horrible. This company is very nice. I really like it, but this is something that bugs me because I see it all the time. And the way it usually goes is what I just described to you. The Hippo will ask you to be innovative, and everybody uses that fucking word. Innovative, being innovative, all over and over, especially in startups, especially in those types of scenarios. Luckily, in startups, you actually usually have more say than you have in other companies, but the Hippo is still there. The Hippo innovation is it's a necessary evil, and it's, at least for people like myself, I find it very tricky. It's very tricky to be like me when it comes to this, because what I found is that if you have a Hippo who wants to have final say on all innovations, the only feasible way for you to feel any type of satisfaction and feel that you are being taken seriously and that your ideas matter to the company is if you are thinking in the correct way, or that your thoughts synchronize very well with the Hippo. It's very much what I argue happens in our schools, where students who want to get a high grade, you have to be you have to work, you can work hard and so forth, but you have to have a certain amount of aptitude in order to maintain some type of meaningful social life. But if you want to get the highest grade, you have to have that on top of actually having a mindset that is very closely connected to the way that your teacher is thinking about the subject, because your teacher's perspective matters when they are putting your grade. If they're going to put an A or a B on your test, is very much up to their own personal preferences and their own perception of the thing that you are talking about. And this is the same scenario. The ideas that say, let's take myself, the ideas that I've put forward are much in terms of performance to the web page or to performance to the application, and optimizations of that nature, and having better perceived load times, things of that nature. And those things don't fall into the perfect sweet spot of what my Hippo wants for the project. That means that I will never get that idea through, or rather I will have to work very, very hard to get any of my own ideas through the process. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, because, being a humble person, everything that I have in my head isn't a good idea. I know that some things are unreasonable, and something like I just present all the options to my managers and my team, and some of it some of it is feasible, and some of it is very large and not something that's right for the company at that moment. But the issue comes when the Hippo wants you to be innovative and be passionate about working at the company, basically, but at the same time, you don't really get rewarded for it in any apart from just getting your salary as you would otherwise. And this is a bit of a predicament. If you are lucky, you work at the sort of company where the way that you innovate, or rather the ideas that you have and the improvements that you want to make, are very much in line with the company values or the Hippo's perspective on things. If that's the case, you will have a great time. If you are, on the other hand, the sort of person who has a lot of ideas and innovations in your head, but you don't work for the sort of company where those things are in line with what the company wants, you're going to have a bad time. And there's not much you can really do about this, unfortunately. You can either do what I do and make it an exercise in personal development and personal growth, and trying to really have more empathy and try to understand the perspective of the Hippo, or you can quit the job. And honestly, unless you are like me and you see every opportunity or every challenge as a way of growing personally, you should quit the job, because trust me, the Hippo is not going anywhere. And Hippo innovation it's not all that fun unless, as I said, you already think the way that the hippo is thinking. Have a great day.